What's up, Nomad Nation? You've got Godfather. Next to me, you have got the famous Fireball 123D. And below us, you've got the man, the myth, and the legend. You've got Zanar Crest Rider. Us three, we make up your Nomad Gamers. So it looks a little different today. Uh, you don't see that little live sign above me. There's a reason why. We are coming to you recorded today because I am on vacation, which means these two are at home, probably playing a game, and I am out west enjoying some time on Thanksgiving with family.
He's not on a boat this time.
I am not on a boat this time. So, with that out of the way, if you're watching us on the Nomad Gamers Facebook page, I want to say thank you very much for your support. If you just stumbled across us, we just need you to hit that follow button. We need you to turn on the notifications. That way, anytime that us three come live at you, which is on every Saturday, you are being notified. Now, if you are watching us over on YouTube and you are a subscriber, I want to say thank you for your continued support. If you have stumbled upon us, you have found the home of the Nomad Gamers. Right down in that corner over there, you are going to see a subscribe button. Next to that, you're going to see, and I really need to remember what the sequence is, but it's either a heart or a thumbs up. Next to that, whichever one, they may be out of place, but smash all three of those. Turn on your notifications. That way, every time we come live at you, you are being notified. Now, since we are recorded, I want to say hi to all of Fireball's personal social medias that he may or may not put us on. This is going to be on all of my personal social medias: Twitch, Kick, portions of this will be on TikTok, and then, of course, my page on Facebook. So today, if I could speak right, like get it out, Junior, we already we already have our subject picked out. So Fireball, you are hereby on vacation for one episode and one episode alone. So today, instead of Fireball taking the lead on things, I think we are going to pass the torch, since he is our resident expert on this game, to Zanar Crustrider. So take it away, Zanar.
So several weeks ago, and we do apologize for it having taken so long. We had a number of unforeseen circumstances come up. We promised you guys some stories of our times in World of Warcraft.
Long ago.
That's why Fireball is mostly off the hook, because when the game came out, he was just a little tyke.
Hey, I was still. The thing is, I was still playing the game as a little tyke.
He was 2 years old when this game came out.
I was.
You'll have things to contribute, yes,
I
but
was 10 years old.
your
when I
memory of it
started
is going to
playing.
be less than ours.
Yeah. But I was mainly doing dumb things and had to get rescued. I can't tell you how many times I had to get rescued.
Okay, that is a valid thing. And you know what? During the classic days, like the pre-Burning Crusade days, having to call on help and get rescued was a daily occurrence. You would go out, you're doing a quest, all of a sudden you've got a level 60 elite just absolutely curb stomping, and you got to call some guildmates for some help.
Well, I will say
it's like a badge of honor.
Or if you were on a PvP server, you would be out there doing your thing, and all of a sudden you'd keel over dead, and a rogue would appear behind you cackling.
Well,
so you'd run back to your body and have it happen again right after you got up. So you call for help for that, and then you'd have some high-level player in your guild come out and help, and then that rogue would get ganked, and then the rogue would call for help. So then more horde would come in, or more alliance if you were on the horde.
So
And it would just devolve from one person ganking to this just all-out war in the middle of nowhere. Now, this was back before the battlegrounds and the active PvP system came into play.
Yep. So there's
And that maintained rather strongly well into Burning Crusade, where stuff like that would happen.
Well, refresh my memory here. Because you had those battlegrounds, you had all that. And I remember seeing something, this was before my time, but as you PvP, they had ranks almost like the military, correct?
Yes.
And
then
they did away with them.
There were 14 ranks.
I remember one was sergeant.
Yeah,
I don't remember all the.
Amusingly enough, both the Alliance and the Horde had sergeant, but they were in different spots.
Yeah.
So there's something, before we go down memory lane, there's something I wanted to ask, because I've been seeing it on TikTok, and I want to know if you were ever in it. So apparently there was a pandemic in World of Warcraft.
Oh, the Corrupted Blood.
Yep, Corrupted Blood. Where that just came across my For You page a couple days ago. Where
so there were a couple of instances of this. There was one that happened naturally when Zul'Gurub came out. And yes, I experienced this. But there was also one that happened when they did the Undead Scourge Invasion event, which they did that event a couple of times.
Yeah. I remember that.
So in the original incarnation, the Corrupted Blood of Zul'Gurub, what would happen is you would get infected with this Corrupted Blood ability, and after X amount of time, it would explode and spread the disease to other people. So what you had to do was you had to isolate and get away from everybody so that, it would fall off, and then you could go about your encounter.
Well, like I said, was this
back in the day, debuffs didn't fall off of hunter pets when they were despawned. So hunters, their pets would get infected and they would dismiss them. Then they'd go back into a town and summon them back up. Well, the debuff was damaging if you were level 60. It was deadly if you were beneath level 60.
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking, I said, was this a dungeon? Was this a raid?
So Zul'Gurub was it was a 20-man raid, I believe.
Because that's how I found out about it, was there was a hunter in a raid group. His pet had got it. He had called away his pet, and I think he was in Orgrimmar at the time. And he had called his
so
pet.
They would go into places like the auction house, where there was a lot of high-level and low-level players, and they would spawn their pet, let it pulse, and then dismiss him again. So now you've got everybody in the auction house who is infected. All the low-level players are immediately dying to this. All the high-level players are running around, and of course, in the process, they're running next to uncorrupted players, and now they're pulsing and spreading it to them. The entire cities turned into just wastelands where you could not clear the disease because somebody would run by and pulse and you'd end up with it again.
I heard about it, and this is what the worst part is. You could die and it went away. But there were unkillable NPCs like Thrall or people you could interact with. They would get the debuff and they would never die. So then you'd walk up to him thinking everything was fine. He'd pulse and you're like, oh shit.
Well, you got to remember this too, is when you drop, you have to go back to your bones to respawn.
Or you could spirit res at the spirit healer, but there were and are still penalties to that.
Yes. What, res sickness is what it's called?
Back in the day, it was 10 minutes of resurrection sickness and 25% durability loss to all items that you have. Yeah. Not just the equipped ones, which usually take 10% when you die. It was 25% to everything. So if you were carrying gear in your backpack, because some classes had multiple sets of gear for different things, it would all take a big hit.
Wow.
And if you were on a PvP server, and Lord help it, if you were like me, who would go around these the resurrection area and wait for you to come out, I would feast at those areas.
I heard from people growing up, you were a rat when it came to PvP.
Well, duh, it's a PvP freaking server.
You were like, no, because here's the thing.
Oh Lord,
you were a rat.
I was not a rat.
You would zerd the system.
Choose your words better than that.
You would sit there and laugh and cackle, and you're like, ha ha ha, I'm getting them over. And then you're like, okay, I'm bored now. I'm gonna go do some more leveling. And then you'd get jumped, and you'd be like, huh, I have 3 people jumping me. I don't know why they're jumping me. And then you'd have to be like, then you'd have to call in the 2 main hitters that were.
Now, hold up. You
No.
are distorting facts. Okay?
But
Now-
that does also call back to something important of the old school servers. Nowadays,
listen up,
you
young man.
have what they call connected realms, where up to 4 or 5 servers can all be connected, and your pool for like the dungeon finder tool and stuff could be significantly larger than that. You don't necessarily ever group with the same person twice, but back then, it was just your server.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a reputation on the server, and you would get called out on the forums for stuff you did.
Absolutely.
If you had a reputation, if somebody saw you out in the world, your known reputation of, oh, that player is really helpful. They've been known to, say it was a priest, they've been known to mind control and buff other players. I've done this one. It's funny. When you mind control an enemy player, there's a brief period of time where you can buff them before the mind control channel breaks. So I would run around buffing other players and healing them and stuff. And I have actually watched, as I'm standing there next to somebody that I just healed, another member of their faction run up and start attacking me, only for a series of chats to come out of this other person, and then the one attacking me stopped.
Well, you also got to look at it like,
if the opposite is true and you're an absolute jackass to people, it's kill on sight.
Yeah.
They'll see you out picking flowers. They'll go, you're not getting any flowers today.
well, here's the thing too, that most people have to remember about the older servers when it was just that server. There would be horde people on that server who also had an alliance member in the same server. So
on PvE servers, yes. On PvP, it was locked to one faction or the other for the longest time. That did not change for 4 or 5 expansions.
maybe I'm thinking of something else. But either way, I was up by, let me pull up my trusty dusty map real quick.
Well, while he's doing that,
I'm already there.
Oh.
I was up, not the Undercity.
Now,
It
it is fair to say that there were many people who had multiple accounts so that they could have characters on the same server.
Yep. I think it's the Eastern Kingdoms.
What are you thinking of, Guz?
It was destroyed in the Cataclysm. It was a port city. Or a port village.
Theramore?
Is that the one?
Well, that got mana bombed.
Was that the one?
That was the Alliance city.
It was north of Ironforge. It was in between.
Oh, you're talking Menethil Harbor.
The what?
Menethil Harbor.
That's it. Yes. So I was up there, and this is before the Cataclysm. I'm up there doing my thing. I think it was mining copper or whatever mineral was up there. I needed that. I was going to fly back to Ironforge, do my thing, because Ironforge was like the biggest city. You know, I could go down to Stormwind, but fuck that. I'd stay in Ironforge. And all of a sudden, I am getting jumped on by 4 horde. Back then, getting jumped by 4 horde, that was a big thing. You would normally get jumped on by 1 or 2, but when it became 4, that meant that a skirmish would start. It was brewing. Like, I had jumped one of theirs, they brought someone else, and I was dealing enough damage to where they started calling in more. I call in more, And next thing you know, we have a battle of 10 on 10, like Zanar said, out in the middle of nowhere. But that was not the case here. This was, I'm minding my own goddamn business, doing my thing. When I finally died, and it took him a while, but when I finally died, I forget what voice server we were on, but we could talk in between in between factions. I actually knew the person. He goes, "Hot damn! I finally dropped Godfather." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He says, "You have a bounty on your head. If I drop you, or if I get into a fight with you, I have to start screen recording because when I drop you, that's when I get the gold." So what they were really doing is they were it was a feint. They were dropping me because I had a bounty on my head too. But they were wanting the big fish and they were counting on the big fish to come in of Sweet Kitty Pie and Tiger. And by God, they came a running in. So when I respawned, I come charging in, I was a paladin. I had my sword going. I'm doing all kinds of things. The rogue, Sweet Kitty Pie's in, and she is doing that stealthy shit, going around and like stabbing motherfuckers. And then you had Tiger, who was a paladin as well, but like a level 80 paladin at that time. He comes
That's
running
because
in.
you played during Wrath of the Lich King.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I played during Wrath of the Lynch King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria is where we stopped. But I had
So
to go through
you
vanilla.
missed out on the days of Classic where paladins, their idea of combat was to judge something and then basically auto attack it.
Yeah, I did. But you got to remember too that in 03 when this game came out, when vanilla came out, I was eating sand in Iraq. 04, I was eating sand in Iraq.
Well, the game launched November of 2004, so they just hit 21 years.
Cataclysm, I believe, came out in 2010.
Yeah.
Because I was over in Egypt, and at that time, I had a computer. I was a WoW player. We would set up on a table, a long table. There's like 10 of us in different factions, different realms, whatever. But we'd be playing. It'd just be a game night. We would forget about everything about the deployment. But downloading that fucking DLC, now that was a whole nother chore.
I could see patch days being just a nightmare for a group like that.
We had a table, and I'm on an island in the middle of the Red Sea, okay? In the Tehran Strait. We have 4 laptops, and it was, thank God, the head dude in charge gave the order that whoever was running TOC had to go out and make sure that none of those laptops turned off. It took us 3 days to download Cataclysm. And then when Cataclysm did drop, I'm sure Zanar Crushrider remembers this. When you went to the new area, and I believe the first one was the water area, when you're underwater.
There were 2 different ways of starting, yes, but Vashir was one of the starting zones.
There was a mound of fucking bones about 4 feet tall. When you landed in, it was game on. Everybody is in PvP. It didn't matter what else you were doing. You landed, you got attacked, not by one, by like 10 people. But then the pendulum would swing over to the Horde. The Horde would be having their fun. Then the Alliance would take it back. It went back and forth. And then I heard I saw it with Mist of Pandaria, that they took a big chunk of that area and made it no PvP to where people could actually get into the area without worrying about losing their life.
So before I forget this, I was wanting to ask you this a while back because I still remember the server I was on. What server were you on while it was still single server and not combined together?
I played on a number of servers over the years. My very first server, I started on Gilneas, and that was because that was where my cousin was playing, and he was the one who kind of
The
got
one
me into the game.
the one I started on, and this is the one that Gaz, Tiger, and Kitty were all on before they jumped, was Natharism.
Yes, that was it. And that was a PvP server.
Mm-hmm.
When I left Gilneas, a bunch of real life friends were playing, and they were on Firetree, and that was a PvP server. So I spent most of the pre-Burning Crusade days on a PvP server on Firetree.
Now let's rewind just a little bit, okay? Let's rewind this because we're now starting to jump way, like I feel, middle to out there. Let's go back to vanilla for a minute.
All right.
Ironforge. Ironforge could have been so much more than what it was.
So I
And
think originally in development that it was meant to be more because there
you
is an
could get
area that
this.
is now there's
Go
an
ahead.
area that's now accessible,
Okay.
but was closed behind giant just iron doors back in the day. It's known simply as Old Ironforge.
Yep.
And there were all of those tunnels and stuff that are in there that you can go into now have existed since
Day
the
one.
game launched, basically.
Yeah.
And you could actually glitch your way through and go to explore down there. That was one of my favorite things to do back in the day, was to go to places I wasn't supposed to be.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And
I remember the first time I got in there, I just looked around and went, excuse this, but wow.
So having played Warcraft 3 and seeing the events of that game and what happened in Mount Hyjal, and
Yep.
then glitching your way past the barricade, the invisible wall, going from Winter Spring into Mount Hyjal, and then running along the World Tree Nordrassil it was in the game. It was there along with the skeletal remains of Archimonde. And you could go see it. It was, you weren't supposed to.
No.
Every moment you're out there, you're like just waiting for a GM to show up and be like, you're not supposed to be out here. Get out, and
Yeah,
teleport
exactly,
you away.
yeah.
Which back in the day did happen.
Oh,
GMs would routinely scan for players who were out of bounds, and they would they had a number of things that they could do. Depending on how many times you got caught, they could potentially ban you for it because it was against the terms of service. But most of the time, the GMs were cool with it, and they just, as long as you weren't doing anything you weren't supposed to, if you were just exploring, they usually left you alone. But they could sometimes appear and just be like, get out, and send you back to a capital city.
yes. A lot. I got caught one time down there. He came up, he put in naughty naughty, and the next thing I know, I'm in Dalaran.
So,
Like he ported me all the way across the goddamn map. He made goddamn sure that if I was coming back, it was going to take me an hour to get back where I was at.
Well, hold on. I remember this because there were a few times because I remember hearing all about the exploration, and especially with God's father, he would set his Hearthstone to to the closest city he was exploring, and like you said, he'd get caught, and they'd send him as far away. He'd be like, "All right, Hearthstone, I'm back."
But there was also a cooldown on that too.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was
yeah,
what,
and it used to be an
60-minute
hour
cooldown?
back in the day.
yeah, it was an hour. Yep. So you had to time it very, very smartly.
This
And most of the time,
So-
I didn't do that.
During Burning Crusade, like right at the very beginning of Burning Crusade, so they just for the first time opened up Paladins for the Horde and Shaman for the Alliance. I made a
remember that.
Draenei Shaman, and I was leveling with him. Now, for whatever reason, when I installed my Burning Crusade content, there was a small patch of land just north of the Exodar in the Azure Mist Isle
I'm
that every time I went to it, my game would crash. It was corrupted. It was a corrupted packet of data on my computer. I didn't know it at the time, but this was right after the expansion launched. So I ended up putting in a GM ticket going, hey, I can't get on my character. Every time I log in, I crash right here. And the GM went, okay, I moved you to the capital city. You should be fine. So I log into my Draenei Shaman in front of Orgrimmar.
Oh, Lord.
He saw a shaman and went, oh, that's a horde.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm still talking to the GM as it, because, you know, they would actually talk to you. And I went, hey, you just got me killed. He went, oh, crap, wrong city. Spirit res, and I'll send you back to where you're supposed to be.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, do I get the money to cover the repair costs? Because, you know, this is going to hurt. And he went, no. I'm like, oh, come on. That was your fault.
When something like that would have happened, you all of a sudden, your screen appears and you are sitting in front of Orgrimmar, or you're sitting in front of Stormfall, or you're sitting in or Stormwind, or you're sitting in front of Ironforge, depending on which align or which faction you're with, your heart drops.
so
Because you know they just fed you to the fucking wolves. You are done.
And it wasn't even the players that got me. I was like level 12. The guards come running out of the city because, you know, the guards are all now level 70 because Burning Crusade.
Yep.
The guards went, oh, you're screwed.
Fresh meat.
So before we move on,
We're not moving on, but keep going.
I wanted to ask. So there are certain races that are only able to be for Alliance or Horde. What was your favorite race for each faction?
So it actually took me a long time to start playing Horde. I don't know what it was about them, but it took me a long time to actually get into it. Now, I enjoy playing both factions these days, but
what were all the,
when I started the game, I was a dwarf.
Called?
Huh?
Get phone, look them up.
What were all the races for each one? I know there was.
So the Alliance originally started off with human, dwarf, gnome, and night elf.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I was
the Horde. The Horde had the orc, the troll, the Tauren, and the Forsaken.
Forsaken, is that the undead?
Yes.
That was the undead, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because I was always a night elf. Anything I played for the Alliance, I started night elf.
Now,
so I started off as a dwarven paladin named Lightforge. And I chose that name because the land center that I was going to at the time, the owners, they were a group of friends and they all played the game. And they were on another server and they had what they called the 7 forges. They were all dwarves of a different elemental forge. So when I started the game, I went, I want to do that too. And I was a paladin. The paladins wielded the holy light. I went, okay, I'm going to be Lightforge. 3 days into playing, I'm on a flight path coming through Ironforge, and up into the one of the chat channels, somebody links the Lightforge breastplate. And I went, wait, there's an armor set named that? I played the game for 3 days not knowing I had named my character the same name as the dungeon set for paladins. To this day, that is the only transmog set I will use on that Dwarven Paladin because I still have that character. I still play that character.
Since you brought this up, Fireball, what was the name of your character?
So there was 2. My original was Gatino, and he was a night elf rogue. And then when I took over Sweet Kitty's Death Knight, that was Kung Fu Kitty, and that was also a night elf.
So for mine, I had, oh my god, 9 characters, maybe 10. So
I had a lot of characters.
Yeah. So Godfather,
that was just the first.
Godfather is a paladin. Then you have 7 days.
Godfather was a human paladin, wasn't he?
No, Godfather is an orc paladin.
no,
Orcs
Yeah.
can't be
because
paladins.
Or
when you start. I remember this because when you start.
no. When I started, yeah, it was human.
Yeah, you were Alliance, and then when you ported all your characters to Horde.
I did. I left the Alliance and went Horde because that's where all my friends were at. But anyways, back to what I was saying. 7 days. He was named after my favorite console game, a character there, Three Dog. So I had 7 days. Then I just got creative with the name Gaz. I had Gaz member, Gaz fighter. Gaz fighter was a warrior. I had all kinds of Gazes. Uh, it was the it was like the platoon of Gazes, man. And the only main I had was Gaz father. So
No, because I believe Godfather when you did your port was
don't say you believe because I know exactly what my stuff was.
well. You say
I know
he was
exactly
Orc
what it was.
paladin,
Yeah, he
and,
was a paladin.
Like I know he was a paladin because that's what Godfather was, but I don't remember if he was Orc or not. I thought he was Tauren.
No, he was not torn.
So
What
orcs
is the race of
have never
Ogre?
been able to be paladins,
What is the race of
so he couldn't have
Ogre?
been an orc.
So it's probably Troll.
Might have been troll.
Trolls can't be paladins. The Horde paladins were originally blood elves. At Cataclysm, they
That's what it
opened it up
That's
to
what it
Tauren.
was. Blood Elf. Yep. It's been about, oh my God, 15 years since I played WoW. So some of this stuff, as soon as you say it reminds me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have to fight the urge for the next month not to jump back into WoW after this episode.
I remember, and this is one of my stupid moments. So I was known
You
as
got a lot of them.
I was known as Gaz and Kitty's kid, and Tiger had a kid too. Well, Tiger's kid and I used to play together, and we used to get picked on because people just knew who we were. Well,
The sons of the father.
him and I, we made Death Knights. I know you probably remember the Death Knight spawn was literally just south of where the Blood Elf spawn was. So
Oh, you're talking about Acaris?
So we finally got through. We finally
Oh.
got through like the prologue of being a Death Knight. You know, the Lich King's like, all right, go now. Once you get to was it Stormwind or Orgrimmar, you finally got your insignia. Yada yada yada. So we went back and we're like, all right, let's start exploring around. Well, we went north and we found this portal, and we're like, let's walk through. Let's see what this is. So then we walk in, and all of a sudden it popped up with the red name tape. It said Horde territory, and we're like, let's keep going. That
Yeah.
was our first red flag that we
I remember
missed.
that started a war, actually.
We got
So
all the way to the Blood Elf spawn before we started getting ganked.
And had to call in damn cavalry.
Because him and I kept trying to Hearthstone out of there, but they would find us in time. And then we thought, and maybe instead of keep on running back to our body because we were on cooldown now, we couldn't spawn right away. We had to wait like 30 seconds to spawn. We were like, let's go to the cemetery. Let's see if we could spawn there. We could spirit res and then try to Hearthstone there. No, we spirit res and there were people waiting there for us.
So what you do? Tell everybody what you did. Come on.
We had to call everybody we knew to come save us and drag us out. And
had three different guilds going to war to get these two out.
We managed to Hearthstone out. We Hearthstoned back to what was the Night Elf city called?
Darnassus?
Yep, we Hearthstoned back to Darnassus, and Godfather was so pissed off, he said, once you Hearthstone, log off, you're grounded. Because that fight alone lasted 8 hours. They wanted to raid. They were trying to get a raid going, and they had to cancel the raid because the entire guild was stuck fighting the fight.
Yep. Because Crush Rider, you know how this goes. You jump in to save. Well, in this case, myself, Tiger, and Sweet Kitty Pie, we were going in to save our kids. Well, as we are now in this fight, and mind you, we were dropping resin coming back. You know, things were happening, cooldowns. It was starting into a little bit of a battle. But then Sweet Kitty Pie called in her guild. They come a running. The Horde started calling in their guild. They started coming. So Tiger calls in his guild. They come like you have
You guys are all getting angry because you're trying to disengage the Horde and
Yes.
are just laughing because now they're having a good time.
Yes,
They're in.
we're trying to retreat.
We're in Horde territory.
We're trying. Horde territory doesn't matter to anybody that's a higher level. We can get in there. We can do what we got to do and get out. But
I mean, it does and it doesn't.
yeah,
So what that meant is strategically you were at a disadvantage because the
Yep.
Horde players could disengage, and over time their PvP flag would fall off. So you couldn't do anything to them, but any given moment they could change their mind and re-engage,
we were in a PvP,
and they'd get the first strike.
We were in a PvP realm, which meant there was no flag.
Yes, there was.
Not
If you were
not at this time.
If you were in friendly territory, which were the under level 20 zones, you would not flag.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, as an Alliance member during that time, being down by Stormwind, I will absolutely tell you,
Yeah,
I got ganked a million times before I got.
So that would be your fault. The only way to be flagged as an Alliance in Alliance territory was to slash PvP and flag yourself. You turned that on at some point and left it on.
Because I remember I got ganked right in front of the gates of Stormwind. There were 2 Tauren there, and I had just finished my first battleground. It was that capture the flag one.
Okay, so when you come out of battlegrounds and stuff, you're still flagged for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but
hold on. I wish Sweet Kitty Pie was here because she would tell you the same thing. There was no flag in this PvP server during this time frame that I'm talking about. It might be
It's been that way since the game started. It's still that way today.
Crush Rider, I promise you.
I don't know why you're arguing with me. You know I'm right.
I know you're wrong.
We don't need to argue this.
I know you're right.
Let's just move on.
Hold on. I'm gonna text for some help.
But
I'm texting for some help.
No.
I'm gonna use my phone a friend. I'll be right back.
I had repercussions from that moment, and I was basically given a babysitter whenever I played at that point.
I would just point out, guys, you haven't played in over 10 years. I'm playing right now.
as we're speaking.
Yes, I'm logged into the game right now.
But
got to keep the memory fresh.
No, but my first PvP interaction was, I had just spawned back into Stormwind, and
come on, long-winded.
All of a sudden it said Stormwind is under attack, and I went, I want to see if I can watch this.
No.
So I walked out, stood at the the bridge at Stormwind, and was watching these 2 Tauren just start fighting. All of a sudden, one of them was a hunter and just long shot at me.
Now you said it yourself. You had just come out of a battleground.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't.
You'll be flagged.
Okay.
If you were active in PvP content in a friendly territory, you would still flag and be flagged for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Flight paths, I don't remember. Hang on, I'll get to you. All you're doing is distracting me and ruining my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Fine, go, whatever. You made me lose what I was going to say.
Just trying to have some fun, Chris. No.
Flight paths. You were talking about flight paths.
I don't remember if they did it back in the day, but now when you go on a flight path, they will clear your PvP status until you land.
But no, I got killed, and then I went to go back, and I'm like, I wonder if I can try to stealth out of here as soon as I as soon as so I hit the vanish and I start sneaking away, thinking I'm getting away, and that hunter goes, "Nope, I can still see you," and just throws another long shot.
Mhm. Okay, so I
Well,
have my
if he was significantly higher level, yeah,
Yeah,
he would have seen right through it.
he was a level. This was during Lich King, so I think he was a level 80, and I was only level 12 at this point.
Oh yeah, he'd have seen you from a mile away with that level difference.
okay, so got my answer. In major cities during that time, you had a flag on.
No, you
It's-
didn't. In your own home city, you would not have a flag.
Okay.
Your PvP flag will not pop up unless you are engaging or have manually set it in friendly territory. And that is all territory under level 20, including capital cities.
And this is about to become a long ass debate.
And I again, you guys have been out of the game for a long time. I've
But,
never stopped playing.
Yeah, but I mean, those my what was your favorite battleground?
Alterac Valley, hands down.
What was that? The snow one?
Yep. The
Mhm,
one that has legendary for 24 to 36 hour battles.
I think that was my favorite too because that's why I wanted to play a Death Knight because I remember originally playing that once because I told Kitty I was like, hey, I want to play Battlegrounds, and she had quests she had to do for Battlegrounds, and she just wasn't in the mood to PvP, so she's like, yeah, just go do them. And so I had played that one, and I was like, I love this one, but I didn't realize you couldn't play it until you hit level 50. I think it
Alterac
was.
Valley was, yeah, level 50. Well, 51 back in the day.
So all of a sudden, when Lich King dropped and it says you start at level 55, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna make a Death Knight so I can go play Alternate Valley. And so that was the reason why I did my Death Knight. But yeah, that was my favorite. And then my second favorite was the island one. The one where you start on the boat. If you're an attacker, if you're a defender, you start in the castle. And if you're an attacker, you get these like tanks that you shoot you or like these catapults that you shoot up.
That battleground was actually retired. It's no longer in the game.
Really?
Yep, they took that one out. I don't know why, but they did. That was one of the ones that I kind of enjoyed too. Because it was nice because the first team to attack, they had like 20 minutes to do it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did it, the next team they would flip places, and the next team to go would have as long as the other team took to do it, or the original team would be declared the winner.
Mm-hmm. And then there was one battleground that I stayed away from, and it wasn't an instance. It was you could go there whenever. It was near Dawn. It was called Wintergrasp. I don't know if that's still in
Oh,
there or not.
that was the PvP zone in Wrath of the Lich King.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Zanar Crush Rider was partially correct. Partially. And I was partially correct.
Oh boy, let's
We're going to call this a 50-50.
Now,
Now,
tell me exactly how I was only partially correct.
hold on, because we was flagging during that time. So I did a Google search.
I told you exactly how it would work.
Hold on. Crush Rider, come on, brother. I gave you 50%. Normally in a fight, I don't give up a percent. Ask Fireball.
I also don't like being told I'm wrong when I'm correct.
I didn't say you're wrong. I said you're half wrong. So I put in, because this is when I was playing very actively. I realized you still play. I said, was there a PvP flag for a PvP server in WoW in 2009? Because that's when I'm talking. Okay. It's an automatic flagging, which means I would not have known about the flag at all. On a PvP server, players were automatically flagged for PvP combat upon entering any contested or enemy controlled territory.
That is anything over level 20. I told you that.
At that time, it was level 30.
No, it's level 20 and above zones.
Contested zones. In a contested zone, players from
Yes,
both
anything
factions
under a level 20
were
zone was not
automatically
classified as
flagged
contested.
and could attack one another freely as of 2009. This included most open world players for players around level 30 and higher. Safe zones. Capital cities, faction specific starting zones were considered safe. A player would not be automatically flagged for PvP in these areas. So what I am saying is this is the system at that time did, and I remember the flag, but I only remember the flag from PvE. In PvP, I never saw the flag. I would go out into a contested area and it would just be game on. And telling the honest God truth, I don't remember being level 30 the first time I got ganked. Or 20.
If you played with your own nameplate turned on, you would watch it change from blue to green.
It's been too long ago for me to say I remember that, but I do remember that when I landed, anytime I got outside of fucking any of the Alliance cities, it was game on. But then it makes a lot of sense now that I'm reading that, because during the Wrath of the Lynch King, that entire continent was contested.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yep. So,
but you're also the type that you can't.
I'll give you 95.
No, you know why you remember it that way is because you're the type who can't leave well enough alone. So if you saw a Horde player, you'd be like, I'm going to go get that motherfucker. And even though you weren't flagged at the time, it would be game on.
Hold the horses here. No, there's a split second. A split second. I would make the analysis. Let me see. I'm a level 51. This motherfucker's a level 41. Game on. Oh, hell. He's a level 60. We're going the other direction.
No, because at that time, if he picked on the 41 and that 60 was there to help, then he'd go to try to run, and they're like, we're not done with you yet. Come back here.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in separate occasions. Like if I ran across that one, it would be game on. But if I ran across the other one, giving you an instance of my decision making here, if I saw that 61, I'm going the other direction. Unless I was riding with somebody of a higher level and I knew that I could at least get one or two punches in and let the higher level do all the damage. I'd join in. And then when I became a level 80, it was game on. I was ganking anybody under 79.
Yeah.
So I had back before Burning Crusade, I had a warrior that was leveling up just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also my enchanter. And I was leveling enchanting as I was playing him. So you had this level 20, level 30 warrior with it just covered in enchants because I was practicing by enchanting my own gear.
Yeah.
Now they weren't great enchants, but the stats were so, your stat allocations were so small back in the day that even +1 to damage was a noticeable increase.
Yeah. Very
I would be running around on the PvP server I was on, and players would jump, the rogues would jump and attack me. And rogues were cocky back in the day. They would attack people up to 10 levels above them because pulling off cheap tricks, they could usually kill them.
They had that poison.
Well, it wasn't just the poison, it was all the stuns and the disorients and their vanish, and they put out a lot of damage and had a lot of control.
God, I wish Sweet Kitty was here. She'd be laughing right now.
What they could do was they just jump you regardless. And I had this player that attacked me, and I went and I just stood there, turned around, looked at him, and just beat him into the floor because he wasn't doing anything to me with my enchanted gear and the fact that I'd passed myself some items from other characters. Because, you know, hand-me-down greens
Yep.
actually worth something back then.
Now, let me ask this question, because we just barely touched on it. Fireball, did you ever play Warcraft?
No.
Okay. I know, I don't even have to ask Crush Rider. I know he did. Now, World of Warcraft was one of those games that as you went to every city, it had its own unique story behind it. Stormwind had its unique story. Ironforge had its unique story. You know, every city had its own little story. But then when you get to the Wrath of the Lich King, it turned all that upside down. And then they had a whole nother story that I really don't think Blizzard did a very good job of telling during World of Warcraft. They gave you what they wanted you to see. And I think the reason why they did that was because Arthas, that whole story was told in Warcraft. Am I correct?
Uh, you got his origin story in Warcraft 3,
Yeah.
but that didn't. I mean, the Wrath of the Lich King expansion was the Alliance and the Horde going after the Lich King to try and stop him from just unleashing the scourge upon the land and just killing everybody.
Yep.
Because up to that point, after the events of Warcraft 3, the Lich King went dormant.
Yes.
For, let's see, there's they say it in the original cinematic for the intro cinematic for World of Warcraft. It's been 4 years since the events of Warcraft 3.
Yep.
So for those 4 years, and then every year in real life that also it also passes in game basically. So the timeline is fairly consistent. So at that point you've got another 4 years to Wrath of the Lich King. So it's been about 8 years. And then all of a sudden the Lich King is starting to become active again. The Death Knights are starting to come around. You know, undead are starting to stir and grow more numerous, and various cults are trying to spread plague again. So they all decide that they need to go after Arthas. And that's where you start to get some of your story. Now, a lot of the story is also told, or it's retold rather, in the Arthas novel. I forget who the author is on that one. But that's a really good book, and I highly recommend reading it.
Yes. Now,
but there's more to it than just Arthas's story.
Yeah, I will say this for Warcraft. It is one of the franchises, and I always refer back to it when I am unleashing a right and a left on some of these newer franchises. And the reason why I use them as kind of like a trophy, you know, I compare everybody to them. One, they've been around since '04 with relatively the same story. They've added on some, but the other thing that I have to give them credit for is when they realized that the levels were getting too high, they nerfed everybody.
I still hate that part.
I know you do, but I think they figured out that they had messed up as when they were increasing the level cap. I think they figured out they messed up in the DLCs after what would that be? Well, Wrath of the Lich King. That's when you got to 80. And then in Cataclysm, you had 90.
Nope.
Or was it
85?
85.
That was only a 5 level.
Yeah.
Mists of Pandaria was also a 5 level.
Yep. And I think they started to see that they had made a mistake because they still had more story to tell, and that's why they brought everyone back. And I'm hearing they're starting to go forward again.
Well, after Legion, the expansion that they're doing a remix of right now, not only did they do a stat squish, which they did the first stat squish after Mists of Pandaria.
Yes, and that's what drove myself and Sweet Kitty Pie to work.
They did another one along with a level and item level squish when they went from Legion to Battle for Azeroth. Now they're about to do another stat squish going into World of Warcraft Midnight. And I hate when they do that. Because right now I'm doing millions of damage per second. The numbers are big, they're beautiful, it feels good.
Mhm.
Then they're going to squish it all down, and I'm going to be doing a couple of thousand. And
That
that's
hurts.
not for the first 6 months, it just feels terrible. And I know why they're doing it, because they're having parsing number issues because the numbers are getting so big. They're like, how do we display this? Do it the same freaking way Diablo does, where it truncates it. Oh, you don't need to see this all big long number that says 250 million, just 250 M.
Yeah.
250 B. Go. If you get up to the T, great. They've squished us. This will be the third time. They did the level squish because they said players saw it as a daunting thing to have to level up from 1 to. I think if we hadn't been squished, we'd probably be 150 by now. And right now we're at 80.
It's a BS excuse from Blizzard. It really is.
But that was always their thing, is they
Yeah.
felt it was a daunting task for players to have to go through all of those levels. So they squished them and they made it so you level super fast.
Because I remember as I was coming up the ranks, I got to level 79. And this ain't no joke out there, Nomad gamers. The stat I'm about to give you is a no shit stat. I got to level 79 in April. In April, I was playing 6-7 hours a night. I did not make 80 until October. And the only reason why I made 80 was because at the time, Tiger came over, he got on my computer, and he pushed me over the line.
I think that was a player issue, because I went from 79 to 80 the same day.
Listen here, you bum.
I mean, I did my first character 1 to 60, which was by
You know
far the
what?
hardest leveling that there has ever been
We might have to
in
turn off the
27
recording.
days.
We might have to turn off the recording because there might be some dust flying from the Nomad
Oh
gamers.
my god. Just casualty.
Oh my
Skill
god.
issue. Moving on.
Thanks,
I
Crest
mean,
Rider.
if it took you months to get one level, that's a you issue.
I remember
At the time, though, it was a daunting task to get from 79 to 80.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it
Wrath
was.
of the Lich King was the
And-
easiest leveling in the game at that point.
And I always hated it. Like right after Wrath of the Lich King, when you got the Cataclysm and Mr. Pandaria, when they started making leveling easier, going from 1 to like 70 or 1 to 75 or whatever the hell it was. I always remember looking back and going, that sucks because I had to grind all this time to get where I had to go. Now, mind you, this was back in 09, and I had a lot of things going on at the time. I had Wikipedia, or not Wikipedia, but
WoWWiki.
WoWWiki. I had all that stuff. And there was times where I would just be like, I don't want a fucking quest. I just want to go out and farm and put shit on the auction house.
Speaking of farming, there was one time again. I got in royal
I'll be
trouble
right back.
because well, there's two times I got in trouble on Sweet Kitty's account. So Sweet Kitty was a rogue, as you know, but she took one of her proficiencies in mining. And so one day she was doing something and she asked me to just fly around Wintergrass and do the mining for her. And I was like, maybe 11 years old, something like that. And I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. You know, just fly around. You'll see the ores on the map. Go ore the mine. Be done. Well, I didn't know her keybinds, and I was wanting to fly around in first person. You know, if you had a mouse, you could do this. You could scroll the wheel and you could go into first person.
Yeah.
Well, her keybind was scroll wheel vanish, and I'm mid flight, maybe I want to say 300 feet in the air.
I know exactly what happened.
I went to
I have
scroll.
done this many
I went to
times.
scroll in, and I vanished. Mount disappeared. She fell to her death. Every single piece of armor and weapon was red. Durability.
If you broke that much by hitting the ground like that, she was nearly broken to begin with.
But so I'm like, uh-oh. I don't know what to do with this. So I just logged off. She logs on and she goes, "What the hell did you do?" I got in trouble for it. Didn't I tried hiding it. I think the worst part is I tried hiding it instead of telling her what I did. The second one is I was then helping her mine again, and I stumbled across this horde that was like 20 levels younger, 20 levels lower than her. I was like, I'm gonna mess with this guy because God's father teaching me his antagonizing tricks. Not really teaching me. I watched him play and learned them. But so I just kept sapping him and making sure he couldn't move. Well, finally, he called in reinforcements, and I got in trouble because now they weren't letting her go because at this time she had a bounty on she again being one of the high-ranking alliance PvPers, she had a bounty on her head. So when they found out where she was at, they just kept uh making sure she couldn't move. And like they had around the clock watch on her, make sure she couldn't res or anything.
Yeah, that used to happen.
So I got in trouble for that again because she was like, I told you to do one job. You shouldn't have done this. And now I can't play this
Yep.
character because they won't leave me alone.
Yeah, it took her about 2 weeks before they finally went, maybe we've ran her off. And then she got on one day, she went invisible and skedaddled out of there.
See, and you would think that that would constitute harassing another player, but the general rule of thumb was if there is a PvP solution to a PvP problem on a PvP server, Blizzard was hands off. And
Yeah.
the solution to that would have been to call in an army to drive them off to let her get up.
Yeah.
Whether it was feasible to call in enough people to drive them off or not was a different story, but there was a PvP solution to that problem.
I think
So they would
go ahead.
now on a PvE server, people being jerks like that, you just let your flag fall off, you get up and you laugh at them.
I believe this was not too long after the great battle that crashed the server.
Yeah, I was
I
notorious.
know Sweet Kitty was not in it. I know Tiger wasn't in it. I was not in it. None of us was in this. But it had happened not too long after, and it wasn't our server. So at that time, a whole lot of guilds in that server, they just didn't have the stomach at the time to come to the rescue. Even her guild didn't have the stomach to come in and do anything. I was in the Damned, and we didn't have any stomach of coming. I mean, it pained us to see her not being able to play, but at the same time, it, back then it was strategy, it was tactics, it was, do we really want to start this? And 9 times out of 10 the answer was always yes, but there was always that one time when you went, no, no, we'll just let the heat go down and they'll get out.
I was always calling for help so many times they finally said no. Figure it out yourself.
All right, well, we have blown through the time like a bad habit. uh, we're going to have to do a second episode of this game is just that freaking big. It is. Uh, I actually absolutely hate this episode for one reason. I'm over here wanting to play WoW again. I'm getting that itch again, and I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to go get pissed off at one of Rockstar's games to where I don't have that. I forget about it. But God's Father, just know that on one of those rock towers over Orgrimmar, I have perched God's Father up there on his mount to eternally look over it because I knew I was leaving. Um, that's where he's at. God's Member and God's Hunter and all the other characters I have. I couldn't tell you where they're at. I don't remember where I stuck them at, but I do know God's Father is perched because I had one. I had that big ass dragon mount. I mean, that motherfucker had long ass wings.
So there was one last question I wanted to ask before we got off. Crest Rider. I know God's Father participated in it, but did you ever do the 4-city raid?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever complete it?
Where you went after all the faction leaders of the opposing faction?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have the achievements for defeating all of the enemy faction leaders.
And that's oh my god, that is a pain in the absolute backside. Especially
so there were days where it was extremely difficult, but being on a PvE server, it was far less difficult. Because yes, some people would still come to their aid, and it wouldn't take too many players to just wreck that raid.
Yep.
But yeah, I was able to get it done. The trick is to be quick and not necessarily go where they expect you to go.
Yep.
Well, and that's the thing is I remember because I remember when when Sweet Kitty was doing it, her and Tiger were doing it with this one guild before they left it. Because the leader of the guild was an absolute idiot from what I remember. Because they started off because they were doing Horde at the time. They were Horde attacking Alliance. They started in Darnassus and killed the Draenei. So they had 2 leaders down. And it was so easy for Alliance to run between Ironforge and Stormwind because of that train system.
Yeah.
That they couldn't get past Ironforge and Stormwind because that's where they were sitting, waiting for them. And they were like,
the funny thing is there's absolutely nothing that stops the Horde from using the deep run tram as well.
No.
And
there's no guards in there. They could just pop in and go.
And I remember Sweet Kitty being so upset. She was like, "You are such an idiot. Why did we attack the 2 cities that had no connection first?" And that was
the smart move would have been to hit both of the cities that are connected. Get in, hit them, get out before the players can regroup, because then it's going to take them a little more time to scramble to the other.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, because right after that, Tiger Kitty left, and they did not talk to that guild at all.
I remember one time being right there by that tram, and the door opens, and it wasn't just one, wasn't just 5. There had to have been 30 or 40 goddamn Horde on that motherfucker. They came off of that with a vengeance. One of the very few times in Stormwind that I rezzed outside of Stormwind so I could get the hell away, because I had nothing for them. And you knew when they were doing it because they would hit Stormwind first, then they'd go after Ironforge, then they would, they would make that big ass circle. But by the time they got done with the first two, to hell with it. Just let them take. You know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Why stand in their way?
Mm-hmm.
The only time you stood in their way is when they did something dumb, like hit the outer ones first and then come get the major ones. But for a new player, that's probably a pain in the. They probably added more leaders now, so it's probably more of a pain in the row.
Yes and no. Every race has a quote unquote faction leader, but most of them don't sit in positions of power where they're considered a boss like that.
Didn't the old Prince of Stormwind become king? Didn't the former
Yeah,
king die or get killed? I
yeah.
should say.
During Legion, Varian was killed, and
Yep.
Anduin took over.
Yep. God, I remember when he was just a little tyke on the game.
Yeah, he was until
Yep.
Cataclysm. Then they started to age him up,
Yep.
and he took a more active role in Mists of Pandaria, and then he didn't really do much for the rest of that time after that until he took over as king.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's a good spot to cut this off at. We are definitely coming back for a session 2. This has been a great, great discussion. So we're going to go around with our singles, and we will go from there. We'll make Crush Rider first.
I mean, I just spent the last hour talking about World of Warcraft. I'm good.
It really makes me, like Godfather said, it really makes me miss WoW. And I don't have the time nor the resources to get back into it. So I guess I'll just stick to reminiscing.
What's up, Nomad Nation? Normally, this would be where I'm talking about my streams. I'm talking about Talking Tuesday. I'm talking about Thirsty Thursday. And we just lost Fireball.
Yeah, I just got. We had been on for an hour and I went inactive. That's literally all it was.
Okay. Normally, I'm talking about everything I'm doing throughout the week. However, I'm on vacation. I'm drinking a beer probably right now. I'm enjoying looking at mountains. So I will be back for Talking Tuesday. I will not be gaming Monday, but I will be back for Talking Tuesday, and then that Wednesday we'll pick up either on Grand Theft Auto 5 or we'll stay with Red Dead. I don't know which one. And like Fireball said, I have the resources and I have the time. I have the two, and I got the system that can handle it. I love World of Warcraft. However, I don't think I'll be going back because last time it was like an addiction and it consumed me, and I really don't want to go down that road again. So I will stick to reminiscing myself. However, we talk about this anymore, your Godfather might jump back into
Crush Rider, this is where you need to just get your hooks into them.
it.
Why would I want to create a problem?
Oh,
Exactly.
that's
All right. So we started with Zenar Crush Rider for our singles. We'll start with Fireball. Take us out of here, bud.
Well, thank you guys for watching Nomad Gamers podcast. For our American viewers, happy Thanksgiving. Other than that, you guys have a great day.
This is Zenar Crest Rider signing off.
Peace and love. Godfather's out the door.
Good episode, guys.